Do you ever get freaked out when you wake up at the exact same time every single night? We're going to talk about it. Hello everyone, it's Michelle Patterson here with Angel Souls, and today we're going to talk about what the heck is up when you wake up at the same time every single night. Now, typically this might be between 3 and 5 in the morning, and those are the hours that I'm going to be speaking about here from an angelic messaging standpoint. Okay. Reason why I put it that way is because there are so many takes on this. Chinese medicine, if you are into that, you know that Chinese medicine, if I remember correctly, has certain parts of the body being ruled by certain times of the day. So they could have a different, that perspective is available to you. And then, of course, we talk about in Eastern philosophy, this could be a sign of Kundalini rising or, energy coming through the chakras. And we'll touch on that a little bit here. So the first thing to be aware of, is it consistent? Do you consistently wake up at the exact same time every single night, or is it off by a few minutes, but it's still within the hours of 3 to 5? So we have a couple of different things that we should talk about there. If you typically wake up between 3 and 5 consistently, but it's not the same time, pay attention to how you feel when you see those numbers. Now, those numbers, if you're into numerology, there are also angel numbers. Like if you wake up at 444, that's a hello from your angels, and everything's going to be okay. Really pay attention to what you're thinking and feeling when you see that number, okay? That can be a message specific to a certain moment within your life. So if you're stressed about money, if you're stressed about a job or a relationship or what have you, and you wake up just one time and you see 444, that's saying your spiritual team is with you, your angels are with you, they love you, they're supporting you, and no matter what, even if it's not how you think it should be, it's going to work out just fine. And then maybe another time you wake up, my number was 313. We'll talk about that here in just a second. But maybe another time it's, 315, 320 or what have you. Really pay attention to what you're thinking and feeling. A typical thing for me when I wake up, I'll have a song phrase going through my head. The other night it was Imagine Dragons, Natural. You're a natural. But it was just that part of the song that was pulsing through my head. And I hadn't really listened to that song recently. So I knew there was a message in that for me to believe in myself, to take next steps to, work on my career. So that's if you see different time, or if you're waking up at different times throughout the night, but still between 3 and 5, okay? You're still kind of working on surface level issues within your life. You always will be. We all are. But it's different if you are waking up at the exact same time. This is the freaky one, right? Where you're like, you got to be kidding me. Is it really, that time? So if you do start to wake up at the same time every single day, that is a spiritual awakening. Now, there can be some different causes behind this. Let's go back to that Kundalini rising, chakra charged kind of thing. Your body will adjust. When you're ascending, your body has to adjust to sort of contain that, what we in human terms call frequency, right? So as your body is sort of upgrading, you can feel surges. And when you're going through that physical upgrade, the earth is helping you, yes? So the earth has a soul. We call her Gaia, right? And when we're going through that process, you are very much in tune with the pulsations, if you want to see it that way, of the earth. And so essentially, and the vision they give me is sort of while your physical body is at rest, that's when it can really be in tune with the earth. So you might get that pulse from the earth, and it does shoot up your chakra system, and it does clear things away and expand. That could be one thing that is happening. Still, for others, when your physical body is asleep, your soul doesn't need any rest. I know people are probably saying, I need to rest my soul, but it doesn't really need that. The physical body is the one that needs sleep. So when the rest of you is, these layers, the human layers of your body are at rest, this gives the spiritual part of you a chance to play, to be awake. This is where we get, this is where you're the most open. You hear that all the time during these hours, or you're the most creative, right? So this is a good time to receive messages, and we're going to get deep into this here because I'm thinking of the Rumi poem, and Wayne Dyer, would bring that up in his talks all the time, and I'll see if I can recite it. I don't know if I remember it, but I'll try. But essentially, this is, some people call it the witching hour. Again, it just depends on, I'm just bringing those up to make the connections because you've probably heard this before. So if you do wake up between 3 and 5, there are a couple of things that you can do, all right? You can just stay in bed, stay in that in-between state, and take advantage of this, because if you wake up and you have something on your mind, now's the time to ask your spiritual team. As I said before, it's almost playtime because you're meeting in sort of like the middle with your spiritual team. You're being nice and open. They're coming and hanging out with you. Ask the questions that you have and wait for the answer. Now, here's the tricky thing with this, though. A lot of times our egos are so overpowering everything else that we think that we have to hear the message actually in words. Psychological community might put a little label on that, whatever. People have been getting sent to asylums and institutions for forever for having spiritual experiences. So whatever, but I think we have those expectations, and you might even have, because of the stigma around it, you might have some fear around that and shut it down. Or, you might be feeling it and you understand it, but you're disregarding that because you didn't have a giant vision. You have your very unique connection to the divine, right? So don't go into this with expectation. You can just simply be in that in-between state, ask the question, and it can be as simple as, okay, you woke me up, what do you want? Right? Okay, what's this about? That's usually how I talk to my angels. I remember, again, when I would wake up at 3:13 every morning, I was like, okay, what's this about? And I would start to almost have a lucid dream, and they would show me. And when I was waking up at 3:13, number one, I was going through one of the biggest spiritual awakenings of my life, and that's probably happening to you too. And we can even talk about how to get through that. Maybe that might be another video. But for me, I started seeing myself starting my own business. And as soon as I started to feel fear around that, they really would come in and soothe me and show me like how it was going to play out. They showed me in front of a camera. And I was like, that ain't happening. I'm not doing that. What's a ring light? I'm not. What is that round, bright thing? What is that? And here, it's my lamps. Here you go. Here's part of what I was visualizing. All right. So I would see the whole YouTube setup. I would see me talking to people, and they said, your voice needs to be heard. It's time for your voice to be heard. And at the time, I was also getting messages that I should write books. Some of you guys know I've had human experiences with that. I've put my books on the back burner, but that's the kind of thing that can come through. This awakening into what kind of chapter you're supposed to come into now, but what will be the next right thing for you to grow and expand your soul. So it is an incredible time. It's not something to be scared of. And the other thing that the angels, I want to mention this here, because the other thing that the angels brought in for me when I was asking about this was that a lot of times you will be connected with someone else in the world. Now, we as humans, we always want to put this huge romantic story around it. Please don't limit this amazing divine experience by trying to squeeze it into a little love story as humans see it, okay? Knight in shining armor kind of, love story. Just let it be a divine connection. So just know if you wake up at that time, there's someone else in the world. It doesn't have to be a twin soul, or we put too much on this stuff and we rob ourselves of this amazing experience because we're trying to squeeze it through a human lens. Try not to do that, all right? So what we're talking about is just enjoy the heart connection, knowing it might be one person, it might be several people, but if you wake up at that moment, there are other souls that are jolting their sleep as well, and they're going to feel you, and you will feel them. So there's a nice, kind of other layer to this. And I remember I felt that too when I was waking up at 3:13 in the morning, and I didn't know who I was connected to, but I saw a man. He didn't have any hair, and he had a very distinctive voice, a very, very rich voice. And I was like, who the heck is that? I had never discovered Wayne Dyer at that point. And then just serendipitously, I came across one of his specials, and I swear to you, within this special, I'm listening to it, he talked a lot about waking up between, he said 3 and 4 a.m. And he mentioned in this special 3:13 a.m. He woke up at 3:13 a.m. And I was like, was that, did I connect in that moment to somebody? Now, of course, if someone's going to do it. Someone's going to try it. There are time zones. Whatever. Okay. But still, it jolted me. It got my attention. So whether it was actually Wayne Dyer I was connecting with when I woke up at 3:13 in the morning or someone else, it doesn't matter. The whole point is that you're having a pure connection. So this is almost an exercise that we're supposed to bring into our waking moments to remember what's important. That it doesn't have to have a human story around it. It doesn't have to be a potential love partner. It doesn't have to be a mentor. It doesn't have to be a, anything that has any special, it doesn't have to be in a box. That's what I want to say. It doesn't have to be put in a box. Just have the pure connection. Now, speaking of Wayne Dyer, as I mentioned earlier, he always brought up Rumi, and Rumi's poem. Let me see if I can recite it. The breezes at dawn have secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the doorsill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. I think that's the poem. Again, that's Rumi. I'm going to go back and edit and see if I actually remembered that correctly. It'd be pretty amazing if I did. But yes, I think that poem is that's exactly what we're talking about here, right? So use this time to get your messages. And you don't have to put a lot of effort around it. It's going to be one of the easiest times for you to understand. And remember, the message could be imprinted on you as opposed to, playing out in front of you like a movie. So don't put your expectations around it so you don't miss anything. Yes? The other thing that Wayne Dyer often talked about, and I just went back and actually rewatched another special. I couldn't find the original one that I first saw so many years ago. And I feel so fortunate that I got to see him before he passed away. But the one I was watching just a couple of nights ago, he mentioned waking at 3:15 in the morning. I was like, Mr. Dyer, now I know somewhere in there you said 3:13 because I about freaked out because I was waking up at 3:13. But he talks about he would jump out of bed and just stand up. And he said, if I was going to go back to sleep, I'm going to sleep standing up. So that was his take on it. And he used that time to really harness creativity. So if you are a creative type, you want to get up and write. Even if you don't consider yourself a creative type, you might still want to journal. I personally don't like doing that just because I don't, I'm in that beautiful sort of lucid dream state after I've woken up. I want to get my messages. But you take it as you will. It can be an incredibly creative time and you can harness that energy. So finally, if you're watching this and you're thinking, I'm going to set my alarm for 3 a.m, I guess you could do that, but I would recommend that you let your body naturally wake up and don't try to, don't contrive a meaning around anything. Remember what we said from the beginning of the video. If you are waking up between 3 and 5, but it's at different times, that's a different kind of message coming through for you. If it's the exact same time every single morning, it might last for a week, a few days, months. I've heard people going through that for years and they're naturally waking up. It's not like they're having an alarm clock, jolt them out of sleep. That's a different kind of indication and message that you are spiritually awakening. You are absolutely expanding. And for some people, it's become trendy to have an ascension process because we as humans, we hear stuff like that and we think someone's getting ahead of me, someone's starting to learn something that I don't know. I have to learn that. I have to go through that. I have to go through my awareness. Really, each person is so unique and your connection to the divine is unique. So don't push it. Don't force it. Let whatever's supposed to happen for you happen. All right? And if you start to feel some fear, because honest to God, that's one of the things where you're actually having a real expanded awareness moment and not something that's just like, oh, I've had my moment, I'm expanded. That's made up, right? That's made up so that people will perceive you in a different light. And and maybe think that you're above them or something like that. That's not the right intention. When it's natural, you might feel a little bit of fear or a little bit of, okay, that feeling of, I don't know where I'm at. That's the best way I can describe it for some people. And I know I went through that too, and I've heard other people mention that. Because you're acclimating. You're not going to be familiar with that higher frequency, and your body might feel weird too. That's why we get ascension symptoms, because the body is trying to adjust to house this new frequency. So that's going to be another indicator. If you do start to feel some fear, use that time to talk to your spiritual team. And P.S., you can talk to your spirit guides, of course. If you have loved ones on the other side. I actually just had a conversation with my grandmother this morning, who I've always been afraid to have a conversation with her because I thought it would break my heart again. I didn't want to feel like I was losing her all over again. But I had a lovely conversation with her, and I actually asked her to come in her pure light. And she went from the grandma that I've always known to this just expansive light, and that felt very, very comforting. So you could do that as well. If you're going to do that, be very, very cautious. Again, you got to watch that ego and make sure the ego is not forming and forcing, because there can be sort of like these little interloper souls that want to come in and trick you. Ask for protection, ask for shielding, because again, you're very, very open. Your soul self is forward. Depends on kind of what state of mind you're in when all this starts to happen. You know what I'm saying? So just be careful if you're going to do that. Now, if you have any further questions on that, this was just a light treatment of this, leave your comments down below. If there are enough of the same kinds of questions, I'll make another video. All right, guys? So I hope this was helpful. Please share with your friends. If you have not subscribed, I would really love it if you did so. And make sure you hit the little notification bell. That way you know when I'm doing all kind of goodies. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.